Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, 200 megapixels of a camera, and 125 watts of fast charging and stock Android without any ads or zero bloatware. This right here is the Moto Edge 30 Ultra, which might just be your next flagship device that you own. Why do I say that? Well, let's find out. This is one from GTR and you're watching my in-depth review of the all-new Moto Edge 30 Ultra. Let's get started. Alright, so first things first, let's start by talking about the design here, which is easily one of my favorite things about the Moto Edge lineup. They're usually these slim, lightweight devices, and at 198 grams, while the Edge 30 Ultra isn't exactly super lightweight, it's still quite ergonomic. And the edges here are very nice. It's very thin. It's not the thinnest smartphone because that throne still belongs to the Xiaomi 12 Pro. However, I think I like this one more in my hand. In terms of protection, you get an IP52 rating along with Gorilla Glass 5 protection on both the front and back, and you also get an aluminum frame here. Now we have this matte / shiny black color of the Moto Edge 30 Ultra, and obviously both of those things don't really go well together, but for some reason they do on this device. I mean, it's smooth, it has that matte finish that does not attract a lot of fingerprints, but once you shine some light on it, it has some bit of a shine to it. Now, one slight thing that I would like to highlight is that, well, the Moto Edge 30 Ultra has some very sharp edges here. Now, you might get accustomed to it in the long run, but initially you will feel a little bit strange because especially around the corners, this thing is very sharp. Speaking of things that are sharp, the haptic feedback. Trust me, it's the best haptic feedback that I've used on a flagship device that's not an iPhone or a Pixel for that matter. But yeah, it's really, really good. And you would really enjoy typing on this if you are one of those who actually types each and every alphabet rather than using gesture typing. So moving along, let's talk about the display now. Now, the Edge 30 Ultra comes with a 6.67-inch P-OLED Endless Edge curved display with a high refresh rate of 144Hz. Now, this is a 10-bit panel with HDR10+ certification. While YouTube supports 4K videos at 60 FPS with HDR, the Netflix app, while it shows Wideband L1 certification, does not have any support for HDR yet at the time of reviewing. Now, this is not really surprising because we have seen some review units usually not have HDR certification, but usually this thing is fixed for consumer products, so that should not be an issue. As far as the display itself is concerned, you get DCI P3 certification here, and as we've already seen with most of Motorola's devices, the panel here is very color accurate and gets quite bright too, thanks to a peak brightness of 1250 nits. One small complaint that I have is that the refresh rate here is only switchable between 60Hz to 144Hz. Now, while 144Hz feels super smooth, if you're someone who's concerned about battery life, I would have preferred having a sweet spot of 90Hz in between so that you can still use this phone without having to worry about the battery life while still enjoying some bit of smoothness. So while I still do credit having a 144Hz panel here, having a toggle for a 90Hz would have been a nice touch. Now, the display department is aided by the audio department here, and you get stereo speakers here with excellent sound reproduction. Of course, there's support for Dolby Atmos, but the speakers in itself sound very crisp and can get quite loud too. Alright, so next up, let's talk about this highlighted 200MP camera. Along with the 200MP OIS primary sensor, the Edge 30 Ultra also offers a 50MP ultra-wide sensor along with a 12-megapixel telephoto sensor. You also get a 60MP shooter up front for selfies. Now, while these are big numbers to throw around, you have to keep in mind that this is a new sensor. So of course, optimization has to be the key. Otherwise, the camera experience, well, would just remain numbers and not actual performance. And unfortunately, that's kind of the case here. See, in daylight shots, of course, you get a lot of details here, even in pixel pinch shots, which was kind of to be expected. Also, since this is a Motorola device, as we are accustomed to seeing, the colors here are quite accurate and mostly close to reality. Moving on to the HDR performance, I feel it could have been better. There's a noticeable halo effect around the subjects and the shadows could have been highlighted better. As for low light shots, while the phone does manage to remove noise well, the dedicated night mode adds a lot of vibrance and color, which deviates a lot from reality. Now, in some cases, the shot does turn out quite attractive, but then again, this isn't exactly how things look, so this might not sit well with everyone out there. Switching things up to the selfies, you get a good quality. The 60MP sensor once again offers very sharp images, and the edge detection here in the portrait mode also works very well. Moving on to videos, the phone can record a maximum at 8K resolution with 30 FPS or 4K resolution at 60 FPS. And like I said, the camera does come with OIS stabilization, at least on paper. Because in reality, the stabilization here just isn't amazing. I mean, as you can see on your screen, there is a lot of shakiness and you can clearly see that someone is walking without a gimbal. Now, of course, I'm not expecting gimbal stabilization here like Vivo and Oppo offers, but this is definitely disappointing for a device of its price. One of the biggest things that struck me is that when recording in 4K mode, there's a lot of boosted colors to the point where it's atrociously bad. Switching things to the 1080p mode definitely makes them better, but again, it's not exactly great. And that's the whole point around the camera. Now, Motorola is known for pushing out software updates that do improve the camera quality. But while it's a nice thing to have on most of the other devices, on the S30 Ultra, it's more of a necessity now. Motorola really needs to optimize this sensor because as good as the hardware is, because you can clearly see the potential, there needs to be a lot of optimization around it if you really want to, well, use it as a good camera setup. It's fine for normal usage, which is going to be enough for a couple of folks. But if you're serious about photography or even videography, for videography, well, just forget about it. But even if you're serious about photography, well, let's just hope that Motorola pushes out an update to fix these things very well. Speaking about pushing out updates to fix things, let's talk about the performance. So the Moto Edge 30 Ultra comes with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 with UFS 3.1 storage. Now that sounds very good, right? On paper. And to be honest, in day-to-day usage, it's amazing. It's a flawless device, zero lags whatsoever, no hiccups anywhere. The software in itself is quite stable. I'll get to the software department in a bit. But yeah, the overall experience is great. The problem is that you can't run benchmarks on it. So I can't really show you any numbers on the screen right now because whatever benchmarking app you run, the phone just reboots randomly. The app, it's not like you even get a crash screen that, okay, this app has crashed. Your device just directly reboots. And it's kind of frustrating. Now we have reached out to Motorola for that and they have acknowledged the issue. They said they will be rolling out an update. And personally, I don't really care for benchmarks that much. It's just a number to showcase out there. The real world usage is what matters. And in the real world usage, the device, like I said, is flawless. You can game on it for an hour without having to worry about overheating issues as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. And of course, it's a flagship processor. All the games run at the highest settings without any frame drops or hiccups. So yeah, once again, no complaints there. Now coming to the software side of things, again, it's very positive here. Motorola offers a stock-like experience, although this time they're calling it MyUX, which is, well, to be honest, stock Android, but with Motorola's additions on top of them. And honestly, those are very subtle additions that genuinely make the device better. First of all, you get Moto Actions, where you get different gestures. There's a new peak display that lets you view notifications easily from the lock screen itself. There's slight changes in the quick toggles, but the overall device just feels very refreshed. Also, one more thing that I'd like to highlight is that the animations here are much more improved now, which really helps because not only do you have a high refresh rate, you also have a skin that has smooth animations. So the device altogether feels far more smoother as compared to other high refresh rate devices. Also, it's nice to see that there's absolutely zero bloatware here. Like literally no ads, no bloatware. It's a clean Android experience. Now, everything is not positive with the software department, and that is when we talk about the update schedule. Now, at the time of recording, I do not have an official confirmation as for the updates that Motorola is promising. But even at the time of testing, the security update on this device is from June. Now keep in mind that we are already in September, so that's a good 3 months away from the last security update. And again, speaking of updates, like I said, Motorola is, well, I would say quite similar to nothing in this department, because while they have been pushing out updates that do patch things up and have a lot of bug fixes, they haven't really been known for a good track record when it comes to the Android update version, which again is surprising because it's mostly stock Android. And users usually expect to get timely updates on this. Not to forget that Android 13 is already out, but there is no clarification on when this device will be coming with Android 13. Lastly, there's the battery life. Now the phone comes with a 4610 mAh battery, which I would say is decent enough considering the form factor. And the good part here, which Motorola was very proud of in our pre-briefings, and personally I am very happy for them as well, that finally they realized that if they want to compete in this market, they need to bring out faster charging. Thankfully, this one comes with 125 watts of fast charging, which is great. In our testing, the phone goes from 0 to 50 in just 10 minutes. And if you're going from 0 to 100, that just takes less than 25 minutes. However, the best part is the fact that despite charging it using this 125 watt charger, the phone does not heat up, which is something that's quite prominent across other devices that come with 100 watts or 150 watts of fast charging. The device does heat up a little bit while charging. This one does not, despite having such a slim design. Speaking of charging, there's also support for 50 watts of wireless charging, though of course that would be using a proprietary charger and there's no information about that yet. As for battery life in itself, while 4610 mAh does sound a little bit low for a flagship device, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 is far more efficient as compared to its predecessors, and you can easily last an entire day of usage with this device. Of course, if you're planning to use it at night, you might have to quickly top it up. But like I said, the fast charging basically guarantees you even a 5 minute of charge will be more than enough to take you through binge watching session at night. Which brings us to the pricing. Now the Moto Edge 30 Ultra has been priced at Rs 60,000. However, in the Flipkart Big Billion Day sale, you can get this thing for Rs 55,000. Now, spec for spec, the direct competitors of the S30 Ultra are basically the OnePlus 10T and the Vivo iQOO 90. Both of which are priced 5,000 rupees cheaper than this, which is 50,000. And of course, you can then add on card offers which are available on both the devices. So let's just start by like comparing them at the face value of it, which is 50,000 versus 55,000. For an extra 5,000 rupees, the Moto Edge 30 Ultra already kind of justifies its price bump. You get a slimmer and more comfortable form factor, stock Android with zero bloatware and no ads, support for wireless charging, and a massive 200MP sensor. That's the latest technology. With that being said, that 200MP sensor is a two-sided sword, because while the hardware is great, as you clearly saw in the camera department, this thing still lacks optimization. While I do expect things to improve, the camera performance here just does not justify or sit right for a 55 rupee thousand smartphone. It's fine for average users, but if you're serious about photography, you should wait for some while, or at least just hope that Motorola pushes out an update ASAP for the camera performance. But yeah, long story short, should you buy the Moto Edge 30 Ultra over the OnePlus 10T and the iQOO 90? Well, the thing about this phone is the same that is the case with every Moto Edge device. While they are priced slightly above with most of its competitors, the whole idea around these series is that you're not just paying for specs, you're paying for an experience. The experience of the S30 Ultra is damn good, and the fact is that I'm ready to make a compromise on the camera quality to some extent because the device is just so good in hand that you really enjoy using it. With that being said, Motorola, please just push out an update soon. And well, that was it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Vaughn from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.